Hello fellow kaiju fans, it is Godzilla Productions TV, and do you like the tree? Do you think I did a good job? I mean, I'm sure you're obviously a little confused why it's Yapool themed. By the end of this video, you'll know. You'll know all too well. So, Decker, yeah, about that show. I have to talk about it again, like I do every month, and this month it brings back bad memories. So I just want to make this video and never think about the episodes that came out in November ever again. Besides 17, the first one we're going to talk about, which was pretty darn decent. The first thing I gotta say about it, Kanata is racist. You know, I always knew something was off about his character, so seeing him assume all Metrons are the same, it checks out. Speaking of that Metron, it's Nigel. Good old Nigel the Alien Metron. What a name! And it's pretty interesting that they chose a girl's voice actor for an alien Metron named Nigel. Although I will say there is a bit of a missed opportunity with Nigel in this episode. In the scene where Nigel is playing that music and swaying along to it, it should have been the music from Ultraseven. I mean, it was a perfect opportunity. Classical music, it would have been such an amazing callback if they didn't do it. Now, what was the episode about? It was about the internal affairs conflict. Now, I think this was a really neat idea, and I love when shows do this. Having higher-ups in the organization come down and take over the attack team. I love that. Z did it. And it started off being done really well in this episode. Suspecting the captain because of his special treatments towards aliens. Great idea right there. However, bringing up that case from 10 years ago was way too focused on. While I think that whole story was great and it was done really well, it didn't really fit in the context of Decker, simply because Agams is a massive threat on the loose, and turning attention away from him doesn't really make much sense. If in any sort of way there was a reason that we knew of that they wouldn't be directly pursuing Agams in that very moment, it would make more sense to deviate from his story. But since he is a constant threat that they would have to be worrying about at any moment, why would they be focusing on something from so long ago? Again, great concept, not very good execution in the context of the show. And I do say it with a heavy heart because the way it was done in the episode was really good. As for the fight, Decker, let's be real, should have had no trouble against Gamas. Decker has to go into dynamic type to fight him. He is too weak in Flash that he has to go into dynamic to fight Gamas. That's more than kind of ridiculous. Don't make the monsters in your episodes so weak if you're going to add a super form into your show. Like I theorized before, Gamas should have been empowered by the ore, so they could still do the cool Godzilla reference. By the way, that's awesome, having the director of the two Godzilla short battles direct an episode with a Godzilla suit reuse the day after Godzilla Day. So cool. They could have still done that with it working and making sense if Gamas was empowered by the ore. Maybe even use the ore to give him an atomic breath ability, sort of like how Gamas was empowered in X. That way Decker can go into dynamic right away, so there's no situation where why doesn't he go right into dynamic? And he can still have trouble defeating Gamas. It's not like the instant kill that he does in this episode. So in the end, Ultraman Decker episode 17 gets a pretty solid 8 out of 10. Decker episode 18.
I will show no mercy.
Let's start with the mistakes and just overall bad things. Why did Agams just show up after being gone for so long? Just shows up out of nowhere, confused, lost. Why wouldn't this have happened right after episode 15? That makes no sense for it to be right then and there. Next up, they claim to have evacuated residents from a sudden sinkhole. How? Erebunta's sinkhole in the past has been shown to be like that. It just kinda happens, there's no escape, and you're gonna die. So how could they have possibly managed to evacuate people from it? At one point, Kanata claims that Carmera was saved by Kengo. No, she just kinda randomly decided to be good. And when Kanata gets abducted, how did his teammates not hear that? How do you not, they were right there. How do you not notice that? There's no other sounds going on. You're gonna hear that. And what exactly was the point of abducting Kanata? Nothing exactly happens. They just get out of the portal and fight a little bit. A little bit of a tassel, if you will. And why did Yapool take Kanata's form? Why does it matter? Kanata just ends up out of the portal in a second anyway. It's not like Yapool gained any information or anything at all from that interaction. And when you get to the fight, why exactly did Kanata not instantly go into dynamic? If Arabunta has been stated to be such a terrible and powerful monster, and even later on after that, why wouldn't Kanata go right into dynamic when Terrafacer shows up as well? Speaking of Terrafacer, why wouldn't Agams fire the beam the second he got the chance? He just sat there and waited while Kanata whined at him. He doesn't feel bad about Kanata at all. Why wouldn't he just kill him the second he gets the chance? And I will admit that Ace episode reference is cool when Terrafacer and Arabunta get slammed together by the two Deckers. However, it doesn't make any sense in the context of the episode, because why the heck wouldn't Decker be in dynamic type? If they're never going to use dynamic type, right? I have a fix for you. Make the dynamic type suit future Decker's design. And just have Kanata only get the shield in episode 15. He gets the shield and keeps it for the rest of the show, but he doesn't get any new form. That way they could still sell new toys for future Decker, but there wouldn't be any problems in the show. And this episode has some really strange continuity errors in it. For example, where the heck did Agams get that portal from? That was never shown to be a thing before, but all of a sudden, there it is. Also, Arabunta winds up its attack to hit the dwarf and the jerk twice for no reason. Also, why would it be doing an attack like this when it has several long-range attacks that it could fire at him instead? And why isn't Terrafacer destroyed again if it's just gonna come back anyway? Also, Decker defeats it without using dynamic type, and he does it with stuff he's had the entire time. Why did he need dynamic type in the first place? And this episode just has some big disappointments, just big fat ones. The number one thing is Yapool's glass shattering. Are you kidding me? With the thing we got. That looks absolutely horrible. The only thing, the one single thing I was looking forward to in this episode was that glass shatter, because in Z, it was done so incredibly. That effect in Z really solidified just how far they had come in VFX throughout the new generation. It may just be the most impressive effect in all of Ultraman Z, and that is saying something, because Ultraman Z, still to this day, has the best effects out of all of the new generation shows. It was beautiful, it was gorgeous, it was jaw-dropping when you first see it. All the pieces of glass interacting with each other, it just feels so natural. In this, the cracks aren't even lined up. They don't carry over that from Z, yet they decide to rip it off with that big D Decker carves into Arabunta. Are you kidding me? You're gonna rip off Z's Z thing, but you're not gonna carry over the incredible effects from it? Ultraman Decker episode 18 gets a 2 out of 10. And if you thought that was bad, oh boy, if you thought that was bad, wait till you hear what I'm about to give episode 19. I always give the extreme score before I talk about the episode. So here you go. This is what I give episode 19. Yeah, 0 out of 10. 0, 0, 0. Nothing. Nothing. This episode had nothing. It was absolutely easily the worst thing to come from this show. It rivals even what Trigger had. I gave episode 7 a 1 out of 10 because I assumed that was the lowest this show could get. That was the worst. That was the base. That was the very rock bottom. That's why I gave it a 1. But this episode managed to be worse than that episode, so it gets a worse score. Let me try to break this episode down, because usually I rewatch the episode to make this video and write down a bunch of notes that I have to say about it, but I refuse. I absolutely refuse to put myself through watching that again. That this is all just from memory. So, here we go. Yes, go to space in a show that's made a point to keep you out of it. The whole very interesting premise of Ultraman Decker being trapped on Earth thing, thrown out the window. Hey, let's just put him in space anyway. Why even have that sphere barrier if we're just gonna keep going in and out of it with ease? Speaking of which, Decker's never even tried firing a beam at it. He's never even tried once attacking that sphere barrier. The closest we got to that was in episode 1 when he tries to go through it. He doesn't do anything about it. For all we know, he could fire a beam through it just like he does with the Yapool dimension somehow. Anyway, we get Kengo back, who just so happens to ruin every single scene he's in, which is pretty much all of them, because Kanata is trapped on the moon with Kengo. There was even a scene in this episode that felt like it was going good when Kanata and Kengo were talking to each other about strictly business-related stuff. I'm here on business. The spheres have a nest here, and I'm here to kill them. I'm like, alright, stuff is serious. And then Kengo and Kanata end up all like, you like a keto. I do? What does Kengo even do in this episode? Oh yeah! He gives the parents' message to Kanata! Hey, guess what? I don't care. You wanna know why I don't care? Because we've never seen his parents before. Besides one little picture once. Kanata has hardly showed any emotion about his parents at all, so I don't know why we should care about him getting all sad seeing them. The parents' plotline has been one of the biggest wastes in this entire show. For a new generation Dinah, you're gonna screw up the whole parent thing? Are you kidding me? Asuka's dad in Dinah, it was done incredibly. Absolutely incredibly. And then in this show, you're gonna sideline the parents so hard it takes till episode 19 till we even see them? Kanata's cared and talked more about his grandfather the entire time than his parents. Yet this is supposed to mean something. How do you screw up this bad? I don't get it. And I love how Gus Select does absolutely nothing during this entire episode. They just goof around with Hanai too. Oh, where's Kanata? Hey, maybe look for Agams? Decker is gone. You've seen him go to space. What happens if Agams counterattacks? What then? What are you gonna do? Terrafacer was clearly not destroyed. He could just hop right back in that thing and start attacking. What are you gonna do? Nothing. You're gonna lose. So stop goofing around and do something about it. Speaking of Agams, he was supposedly going to take advantage of Decker being gone, but does he? No! Decker ends up back on Earth by the end of the episode, and Agams has done absolutely nothing. Are you kidding me? You're gonna set up something like this and do absolutely nothing with it? What was the point of this entire episode? What was the point of the last one? You set something up, and there's absolutely no payoff. Instead of that, we get a Sphere Galactron. A Sphere Galactron that is not only the worst of the two Galactrons it could have been, but it's a Sphere Galactron without any sphere attachments on it at all whatsoever. There's absolutely no effort put in making Sphere Galactron a Sphere Galactron. And even that isn't the worst part. Even that isn't the worst thing this episode does. Why do you think I have this Yapool Christmas tree? Think for a second why I could be making such a big tribute to Yapool in this video. Maybe it's because they turn Yapool, one of the most evil, intimidating, and awesome villains in the entire Ultraman franchise, into a literal joke, a gag, a moment meant to make you laugh. Yapool is just a plot device this whole time. He didn't even need to be there. It didn't need to be Yapool. These episodes didn't even need to happen in the context of the story. How do you manage to stoop this low? Screw the rating of 0 out of 10. I give this episode a negative 10 out of 10. Sakamoto, I will never forgive you. Now this is a massive Decker L. This has been Godzilla Productions TV. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, check out my Instagram and the Trunker Podcast, and also be sure to watch a playlist of all the other Ultraman Decker videos I've done. See you guys later.